And there they are, the two pieces side by side. This is really close to being finished. There are only some very, very minor imperfections that need to be addressed. As you can see, it has a metallic shine to it. I'm not going to tell how I did that, but it's really pretty easy. You just got to know what you're doing, and regardless of what anyone might say, I know what I'm doing. I've been printing or sending things out to print and combining parts and putting and priming and sanding and shaping and smoothing and detailing them ever since 2007. Now, you can take this and I will show you, I'm going to show you all step by step how to set up the Ender 3, how to get your game body files, how to rescale, how to primer, putty, paint, sand, finish, the whole 9 yards.
People are until police get there. Some of them have not survived. In the crime-ridden Chicago.
Okay, I had to put this little LED on some blue masking tape just to be able to see it. Look at that. Teeny tiny incy wincy. Alright, so let me show you what it looks like with a little power, with the lights on and with the lights off. Okay, so this is a soft white LED again, and this is the super bright white. I've got this in series with this one because this one's 12 volt, so I'm really only running 9 volt through both of these. So at 12 volt, it would look much brighter on both LEDs. Now let me show you what I've done with the hemisphere. Okay, you can hardly see any light at all. Here's the little outside 12 volt LED. Inside, nothing. Now I'm going to paint the inside of it. See, I really hate this. I have to paint the exterior with primer and the interior flat white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot the inside with flat white first, then come back and shoot the exterior with primer gray and show you the difference. So here's the hemisphere of the Daedalus, the 1240 Daedalus. Now this is the exterior. I really hated painting this with primer because it looks so good with the metallic finish, don't you think? Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over and show you where I painted it flat white. And I'm going to show how the light dissipates, reflects, and refracts inside of the flat white hemisphere. Okay, it turns out I had gloss white, but still good enough. I could shoot it with several coats of gloss white, sand it, but it's good now. I'm going to show you how there's a difference between reflection, like metal tape inside of a nacelle, like the old guy used to do way back in the day in Simon Merck's metal heating tape. It doesn't reflect back as much light, but this diffuses the light and sends it in every multiple direction. I'll show you that again in the Vulcan shuttle. Okay, this is with lights on, exterior lights on, so I'm going to go ahead and show you this right now and then turn off the exterior lights. Okay, now look at the difference. Now it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, except if the whole thing was lit up and it was nighttime. Now see how that little LED reflects off of that cigarette? Now let me put a sheet of white paper underneath. Now it's just a sheet of paper underneath that little bitty teeny tiny SMT surface mount LED. Look at that. Look at the difference. This is the difference between reflection and refraction. You can reflect all you want, but if you don't reflect the light, you don't spread it around. That's the same little LED. Here's proof. Okay, that's the big LED. That's the little LED. This is why I know more than half of these douchebags on the internet that talk all shit. See? Little bitty teeny tiny surface mount, one LED. Now if you had this built up and it was sitting in the dark, in fact it's not even that dark here, as you can see, it would look awesome. Now how do you like that? Doesn't that look so much better? Look at that. Think about that. That's just one sheet of paper underneath, flat white, with a gloss white interior, same little micro LED, just to light up the interior of a massive hemisphere, a 240 Daedalus. Think about that. These guys have been selling you a line of shit for years. Trust me. Alrighty then, let's have a look at the 1/240th Daedalus yet again. I've come a long way, a long way. And it's looking smooth, purty. Alright, but I want to go over each one of the main parts, then some of the secondary parts, detail parts, interior, shuttle bay doors, assembly, the whole bit. I'm going to pack as much into this as I can. I want to make sure everybody easily understands the assembly procedure on this. It's simple, but still, I want to make the directions and the build along clear. First of all, let's look at what I've done, how I've done it, and why I did it that way. All right, this is the lower primary hull. Now, as you can see, it is smooth as silk. I did one final detail sand on this. I'm going to go over it with some wet 600 grit sandpaper one more time, and then wash it thoroughly, let it dry, and then start assembly. And I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and start assembling some of the parts right now. You hear me? Now, on the upper primary hemisphere or hull, main bridge, main primary section, as you can see, that is the upper half. And as I showed in a previous video, I painted the interior kind of a semi-gloss white. Now I've since then sanded it. I will shoot this again with semi-gloss before I do final work. Just like this lower hull, I'm going to go ahead and shoot this with white semi-gloss to reflect and refract the interior lighting. As I showed, if you do this right, you don't need a whole string of LEDs. You don't need a whole strip of strip lights. You just need a few small LEDs will light up this entire thing depending on the brightness and intensity that you want. Now, as you can see, this is the lower primary, upper primary. There are a couple minor areas I'm going to mask and putty, very minor. At any rate, how I did it, how I did all this. Now this is all smooth. There are some very fine lines in it, but compared to what you saw initially, which I will show pictures of that, it is very smooth. This is one of the nacelles. This is the other nacelle. All I need to do is clean up these grooves on both pieces. I've masked these areas off for the parts that are going to be glued there. I'm going to be coming up with the proper decal and color gradation because I'm going to make this look like a transition ship between, let's say, the first Daedalus and the original series Enterprise, which I guess, is it a refit of this model? I don't know. Who knew? Third base. All right, so here's the neck. Again, very smooth. This is masking tape right here. You can barely see it. Okay, masking tape here and here for the pylons. But this is actually two pieces. But you cannot see the groove or the connecting point because I sanded everything smooth. Again, how I did this and why I did it this way. Okay, there are small fine lines in these printed models. You can't even tell this is printed right now. What I did is I shot it with about 3 or 4 coats of flat black. Flat black to opaque all of the areas and light block so that the light will come out only where it's designated where I want it to come out. So everything was flat black. Then I shot it with 2 or 3 coats of light primer. Let that fully cure for about 3 days. 48 to 72 hours is best. Let it totally degas and harden to that nice enamel candy shell, just like an M&M. Now, why I did it that way was to help smooth all of the lines and gradations. I also shot all these parts, as I said before, which nobody seemed to pick up on until I told them, with some zinc weld through primer. That's how I got the pretty shiny metallic effect. Some people just don't listen and they don't think. Sorry, I'm not trying to be a jerk, I'm just saying. When I sit here and show you how to do something and you don't get it, then I have to come back and explain the same thing later. That just goes to show you. I know a little bit more than a couple of these fellers that think I'm a one-trick pony. They might think I'm an asshole, but I'm gonna prove it. No, just kidding. You know, it's okay for them to say all the horrible, nasty stuff, but don't let me joke around or tease because then I'm a bad actor. Anyway, as you can see on the main engineering hull, I did exactly the same thing. Now, I just recently went through, and what you see there is multiple layers of paint, weld-through primer, and putty. You can also see the copper that I did a test shot of. Yeah, the whole thing looks horrible right now, but it looks exactly the way I want it to look. Because I want to see those lines, because that's going to be a key factor in placing the details. And I wanted all of the parts together when I sanded them or when I painted them with multiple coats of paint, let it cure, shot it with the zinc primer, let it cure, and started sanding it. I wanted that all to fill in those small gradations and make the hull perfectly smooth, one piece to the other. There are 4 or 5 main parts there. There's the back end here, which I'll show in a minute, the rear of the main hull, upper and lower main hull. These are 2 parts. And then this is another part, and then the cap. Now, I'm going to go ahead and remove these parts and show some of the detail parts. Then I'm going to show how the engineering hull was assembled. I'm going to pull it back apart and reassemble it again right in front of you. Alrighty, here are some of the details. I'm going to go ahead and show you real quick. This goes in the lower primary hull. This goes in the upper primary hull. I'm supposing this is supposed to be the bridge. Sorry, I would think that there would be a lighted area. There is a little hole for a beacon, as in an anti-collision light. I'm going to probably use that as a pilot hole to go ahead and drill, use a paddle bit to drill out a larger hole to come up with the bridge. You put a hemisphere dome like the one that goes in the nacelles, each nacelle. Put a hemisphere in here. Now it's a clear part. I'm going to go ahead and leave it clear and say, hey, it's a tractor beam emitter. And then there are 5 little holes around here. I'm going to drill these out and use these fiber optics, this really fine one. And I'm going to make these anti-collision beacons on a separate circuit, so I can switch back and forth, have this always on, have these always on, have them flashing, etc. I'm going to have, if I don't cut out a hole and put a bridge dome in here, I'm just going to go ahead and use the beacon. As you can see, I've been working this part. This isn't quite where I want it yet. I've scraped all around the corner because there's a bad area. And I'm going to putty. I'm going to use this as a paddle. This is a piece out of one of those BS junk mail credit cards. I'm going to use this as a paddle to bring putty in all around here. This is the main portion of the shuttle bay. This is the deck of the shuttle bay. This is the back wall of the shuttle bay. I have to heat this up and put it under a heavy weight so I can straighten it back out before I glue it into place. I will be making decals for this part. I have not as yet done so, but I may or may not show the process. I may just go ahead and do it to it like Sonny Pruitt used to do it. Put the pedal to the metal and rock and roll. Alrighty then. These are the rings for the details on the nacelles. These are the rear parts of the nacelles. I've shown these before. This is what the rear end caps of the nacelles look like. I've shown those as well. That is the main engineering hull. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to show you the main engineering hull. Then I'm going to break everything down and then show how it goes together. Alrighty, this is the aft end of the engineering hull. I've shown this previously with it backlit with red lights all around here. And here I also showed the running lights, or the the alignment lights, as in red, yellow, green. I call them alignment lights. I think they're what the shuttle uses to align itself to come into the bay. These are the shuttle bay doors. This is with them closed, obviously. This is one of the parts, one of the options. There's a little bit of primer dust on there. I have been working on this. Now this is a separate part from this part. I'm going to go ahead and start breaking this down and explain how every part goes together. Okay, alrighty then. Here is the shuttle bay doors. As you can see, there's a ledge behind the shuttle bay doors. This is to come up behind this part, come up from behind, put it into place. Use the shuttle bay doors to align the aft end of the shuttle bay. Then glue it into position, pop out the doors, and if you want, use the smaller doors or keep it all the way open. Still haven't decided. I might keep it all the way open. Fully retracted shuttle bay doors. But I will show you the other set of doors. Okay, this part magically attaches to this part. It's easy. There's only one way to do it. There's a little notch. You can't get this wrong. If you do, I don't know what to tell you. This is 2 parts. Each one of these parts is going to be spray painted semi-gloss or flat white on the inside, again to help reflect and refract the light. This is a 2-piece section. This section goes directly to this. Again, there's only one way to do it. This is the forward hub where the neck slides in. I'll show that when I get to it. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of the main engineering hull, not including the neck. Okay, and here are some more of the details. Let me explain what these details are. As you see this body line right here, that's where these longitudinal frame detail parts go. This one will go here. Then you have 4 or 2, depending. I don't know which comes with the kit, but you put 2 or 4, I'll have to refer to the directions, of these half rings into position. I would say put at least 1 on each end. Put the half rings into position coming up from underneath the hull first, and then put your longitudinal frame detail as close to this line as possible. Then you have these rings which go 1 back here, 1 on this frame here, 1 on this frame here, and 1 on this frame here. Now, I will show exactly how to do that when I get to that. I'm going to show the nacelle breakdown and show the nacelle rings and then move on from there. Oh, by the way, these are the partial shuttle bay doors, if I haven't already addressed that. They look like they're half open, partially open, retracted, however you want to look at it. These would go into position as opposed to that other main piece. Alrighty, these are the nacelles and the pylons. This is one of 3 options that may be available. It all depends on what Jack decides. Now, I'm going to go ahead and break down one nacelle. As you can see clearly, it's pretty obvious. You have a nice big thick area for a wire run, and this matches up directly with the position on each nacelle. Now, I will be wiring both of these nacelles. I will be running electronics. You will see that when we get to that point. This one section goes into the neck, one goes into the pylon. You put your wiring in, and you add each one of these rings at each one of these sections, following the directions. Let me show you how one of these breaks down. It's really simple. Okay, as you can see, each one of these nacelles consists of multiple sections. From what I understand, every one of these intersections, or every one of these sections, is interchangeable except this rear one. This rear one has a weep hole in it, but I'm going to be using it as a port and starboard beacon or a flashing running light, anti-collision light. I haven't quite decided yet. Now let's see. Yes, and this one has one on top as well, so that I might use this as the port and starboard running light, and this back one is a anti-collision flasher. Woohoo! And this is the back end, as I've shown previously. I'm going to probably paint this a slightly darker gray. I will show the complete color breakdown when I get it all done. When I put the paint guide and the directions completely together to go along with this video, it's all going to be up to you. This is just a suggestion. At any rate, as you know, these parts go up in the back. Again, there's a notch and a lock. The keymaster, the keymaster and the lock. Anyway, this sits in there. The pretty colored lights come out the back, and so on. So much for the nacelle. Again, each one of these rings goes in between each one of these sections. These sections are all interchangeable except for the last section. If you look inside each one of these sections very carefully, you will see they all have letters. Now, basically it says, the way I put it together was A, B, C, and so on. But I could be wrong. Let's see, what's this back one? Yeah, A. I went A, B, C, DEF blank. This is all one section. So there you go. And one last thing on the pylon or the nacelles, I did want to make sure to connect every section together as I was prepping, priming, and painting these, so that the intermittent degrees of sanding, etc., would keep everything smooth into one long longitudinal flat frame line. So I've got one smooth line from the beginning to the end, from the forward to the aft. I don't have any high spots or low spots. Everything is smooth and even. Okay, and here we are looking at some more of the parts and electronics. Now, as you can see, these are the hemispheres or domes for the nacelles. This is one of the alternate versions of the pylons, as is this a third version with the neck piece. I chose to go with the original. There are directions for all of this. They will all be available with this kit, I'm sure. I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm going to do, or I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do here. But I don't think I'm going to have enough time to get to all of it in this video. There are 12 positions for 12 red, yellow, orange, green, blue, whatever LEDs, however set up you want to make them. I'm going to make up 2 sets of electronics. I was going to do 3. I've got to move on to a couple of other things and get this wrapped up. This is going to be 5 in a circle plus a center pulsating red LED. You can use orange, yellow, whatever color you want. It's all the same. I'm going to go with pre-wired auto fading. Fade up, fade down. Okay? I don't have time to sit here and build out the whole circuit. This, I'm going to build out the circuit. I'm thinking I'm going to have 6 orange and 6 red with maybe a center LED. I haven't decided yet. I want to get this primary circuit done first. The rotating section, I will probably go ahead and do it in red first, and if that's good enough, I'm going to roll with it. I've got a whole box of these LEDs which I can use for this and other projects. I think this cost $8 or $10, maybe $12. I doubt it. I shop around for everything I buy. I do not pay Cadillac prices for a Chevy Chevette, and I don't pay Lincoln prices for a Ford Escort. You feel me? Or a Ford Focus. I'm not going to pay $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 when the same exact car, let's put it this way. If I buy a Lincoln, I'm going to spend $50,000. If I buy a Ford Crown Victoria, I've got a high performance vehicle for half the price. And it's the same exact car, maybe minus a couple of luxuries. There you go. So that's my way of thinking. That's why I think these astronomical kit prices are just ridiculous. I refuse to pay them. And I refuse to pay for these price gougers on the internet, on eBay and Amazon and even Walmart nowadays. They keep boosting the price higher and higher. And I'm telling you, all these model forums, all these guys at Starship Modeler, Cult TV, man, you name it, they all work together to keep jacking up the prices. All these guys collect 6 or 8 cases of these kits. They wait for them to go out of production, and then they jack up the price to make them unfriggin' buyable. Okay, they want to make $1 million off of every sale, and they are not your friends. Anyway, more to come on all of this. Take care and keep on trekking. Much more to
I'll just keep getting stronger. You know that, don't you?